What are Hubat Collective? Welcome into another episode of the spiritual trauma series, and this was going to be called "Bringing Being in the Unknown." Sometimes people go into spirituality to find answers, thinking that they'll get an easy answer, or that they'll begin to fix their life with spirituality. Unfortunately, this is not always the case, as there are certain measures that need to take place, such as karmic cleaning, learning new skills, um, healing, breaking boundaries, switching your lifestyle, all these things. But the one that seems the most difficult for people is staying in the unknown. Understand that the truth isn't always what you want, and sometimes you want something or someone to agree with you or to push your own agenda, which leads to either the ego either popping its bubble or becoming more inflated. So it's really just a gamble when it comes down to it. The truth will set you free, but you have to be willing to accept it. The ego loves to compare age, race, experience, and a bunch of other things to use as leverage to better support its claim. Um, and this has a lot to do when you're finding truth. People say like, "Oh, you're too young to know the truth," or "You're too old, so you don't know what you're talking about," or all these things. They want to compare that you haven't had the exact same time that they had. It's a lot to do with the ego, and the ego loves to grab onto what people think is the truth, but it's actually mythology, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on during this. And that there is a truth in life, and it doesn't take a spiritual practice to find. The best way to find any sort of truth, factual truth, is simply go to Nuwapu. It uses right knowledge, right facts, and truths. Those that follow Nuwapu already know this, but they also don't run out of questions. They go for the specifics. Well, we go for the specifics, I should say, to see the truth rather than the ear candy. So if you're on the journey of truth, I'm giving you that path to walk down. You don't have to follow it. You don't have to be led down it, but it's a path you walk. Because if you're following someone or being led by someone, you're going to be led astray completely. You need to walk down your own path for it, but you need to be able to know what the actual truth is rather than the mythology of things. Many people have a spirit of of the disagreeable, which is why they deny the truth despite fact being shown to them. Those that do that don't actually want truth. They want to argue or try to convert others to their way of life rather than seeing life how it is. A lot of people who end up saying that there is no truth or try to say that there's multiple truths, they're in this disagreeable energy. They can't agree with there being one thing. They have to have multiple options. They don't like the one option they're given. They don't feel like it's going to help them. They have a spirit of a disagreeable. They're not willing or actually open enough to receive a form of truth. There are a bunch of opinions and man-made constructions of what the truth is, but the truth is out there, and people would rather believe someone else's way of speaking it rather than the actual way of it being spoken, simply because they're not ready for the truth. It's not for them, or they have a literal demon on them that will not let them accept it. These are all things that you have to look at when it comes down to accepting the truth. Being in the unknown can cause a lot of trauma as you believe that you're going in one path and it's going to show you something that will help you on the path, and instead it shows you your own reflection or leads you down a path that's even more confusing. Even though this trauma is being talked about in the spiritual scene, in the spiritual sense, this also relates to self trauma, so we will be making a video about that soon as well. Many people get on the spiritual path. I mean, many people get spiritual confused, excuse me, because they don't truly know who they are worshiping, which causes trauma, and that can also be linked to religious trauma, which we'll get to when we talk about religious when we get to the religious series. But it relates who they're worshiping. That also forms in trust issues as well. This is why spirituality isn't always going to give you answers. It will show you deeper insights, but it isn't guaranteed to be an answer for a question that you have. Especially with how vast it is, and with many people just praising deities that either don't mix together or just saying random things, worshiping their ancestors rather than allowing their ancestors to guide them through life. It's a bunch of miscommunication where different areas have different ways of being, and different people have different ways of defining a word despite the word having an exact definition. And this is where the truth gets misconstrued. When you start using words and start paraphrasing them the way that you're desiring to, that's when the truth gets confusing. And people love to throw the argument, well, that's been done forever, but that's also your fault for being lazy and not looking into it. Or maybe you're just disinterested, but you're not putting any effort or energy into finding the truth, and instead you're looking at the mythology of it, which you can just look at the word mythology. We'll talk about it later in this as well, but it it's not the truth. It's a falsity. It's a lie. It's partial. It's not exact. So having unresolved trauma and jumping on a spiritual path can just lead you to being obsessed or overthinking on an issue as well that needs solved. A lot, and this has a lot to do with the unknown, because so many people come to this path and try to find out, so what happened to this? What happened to that? Why are these people doing this and that to me? And what they do is they end up getting they get sucked down the path, and then all of a sudden they're told that this person was doing black magic on you and all sorts of things, when in actuality they don't know what the term black magic is. They don't even know what it is. They don't know what even having an altar is, but they're getting sucked into this wormhole where they think everything's against them, which then throws them into even more of an unknown as, why is everyone mad at me? At the end of the day, why does it matter that someone's mad at you? You have to really think of these things. Why are you so uncomfortable with the unknown of not knowing things about you? The spiritual community has grown kind of to be more of a controlling factor with that, because they want to tell you what's going on rather than you knowing for yourself what's going on. Not everything is as intense as it is. These are all words that we use to cover up everything, and if you don't know the origins of these words and what they're actually meant and what they're actually trying to portray with the energy of them, you're just going to get confused and lost and start pointing your finger at everyone, going down psychosis, losing friends and family that you don't need to lose, and essentially being looked at as a weirdo to people because you're super defensive and not allowing people into your life due to a fear of them doing something to you that they either A, haven't done, B, don't know how to do, or C, don't care about. You really have to sit back and think. If you're sitting here in life and you're not able to do certain things that you enjoy, what makes you think that someone else has all the time in the world to do that to you? You know, you really have to sit back and think about it. Whose spell are you falling under? Because there's a bunch of them out here in the world, but which one are you accepting and which one are you not accepting? Well, which ones are you accepting? Which ones aren't you not accepting? And a lot of people tend to avoid the truth because it's a lot blunt and a lot more funny and a lot more simple than people are wanting. The human mind, humans in general, love to overcomplicate things. They want to think that things are like super intense and crazy because they watch media, they watch the news, they watch movies where everything's fucking crazy. And if their life's not crazy, then what's going on with them? Like, my life can't be this simple, but it is the same thing as everyone else's life. It's not as crazy. It's only seeming that way because it's all that energy hitting you at once. And you have to really sit there and digest these things. But with these obsessive issues and things of that nature within the spiritual unknown, these blockages need to be removed before you can truly move on to receive wisdom. And acquiring that wisdom can lead to other questions that won't be answered until you're willing to see things in a different light and come to terms with what you're truly wanting and desiring, rather than settling for a lie or a falsity. Understand that the predictions of the future, the assumptions of who are coming to Earth in ships, will lead to a lot of confusion. We tend to want to rely on someone else and believe someone else for messages because they have, or they say that they have, some form of ability or a gift that you don't have. But in actuality, you have that gift. It's just you've been ignoring it. This is another thing with the unknown. A lot of people come to the spiritual path just to be told answers instead of actually investigating the answers for themselves, which is why you remain lost. It becomes its own religion. Spirituality is actually just becoming religion in a really, really funny way. And religion was made to control the masses. So why would you follow a literal invention that was made to keep you trapped and locked and confused? And a lot of people don't see that within spirituality. They'll go into all these other studies and religions and be very confused about their path without even really looking into the truth of it. they'll take what they see for blank value and run with it, which causes them to be even more confused because why is my God doing this thing than the other thing as well? Because one of them's not actually your God, but you claim them to be. And this is the whole thing of praising two masters. You can't be in the truth if you're in a lie. You can't be in the light and with God. God is in the darkness, within triple darkness. So you have to be in the unknown. God is in the unknown. And a lot of people get upset when they say that because they believe they know who God is. They don't. How do you know it was God that contacted you? This is what you really have to ask yourself. If you just heard a voice, who is that? If they said it's God, are you positive? How do you know that that's God? Have you seen God before? You have to ask yourself these questions. Do you know who you've seen, or are you just comparing it to something that makes you feel better? And people don't like to question themselves in this way because they feel like it's discrediting to them. But the people who don't ask these questions to themselves are not aware of anything, really. They like to just assume everything and live down the life of assumption. And then when those things aren't real, it's going to shock them. So it's best to stay in the unknown. When you fully know the truth, you'll know the truth. And it doesn't matter if you see something, because seeing something can be a falsity. It's about knowing. You can't rely solely on your senses that are only reliant on touch. You have to be able to know. You have to know these things. And with the truth of that, everyone as well though, but if you're looking for the best way to get to the truth, definitely go to the description and get the Dr. Malachi Z workbooks. I'd put a new link in there because the other one was down. The original person who had that link is throwing a little bit of a fit because he's selling books that you can get for free, and that even the Nubian nation doesn't want. Well, the actual Nubians, I'll say that, not the fucking weird ones that want to charge money for everything. The actual ones, the actual Nuwapians, don't want to charge for Malachi's books. So it's all, they're all in that. It's updated. It has 450 books in there. But Malachi has written over 1,000 books on many subjects. He's broke down the Bible, the Quran, the Torah in exact ways. If you're looking for truth, that's the way to go to it. And so many people are ignorant to it just because of the way it's played out. But if you actually paid attention to any of Malachi's teachings, he actually talked about the events that were going to happen to him um, in a very cryptic way before it happened. He knew what was going to happen to him. He knew all this stuff. He knew that people were coming in undercover agent wise and doing things. This is what happens to every community when it comes down to this, especially when they start speaking truth. And any place that talks about truth in a quote unquote hidden manner, which, you know, a Tombo Ray was not really hidden. But regardless, it's called a cult. Like why the Masons are called a cult, because the Masons hold truth and they keep it concealed, and sometimes they reveal it. Same thing with the Eastern Stars, same thing with the Skull and Bones. They're all just holding truth. People like to assume that they're all evil and bad whenever that's just a lie in itself completely. Not every one of them are bad, but everyone wants to say that. So then they remain ignorant and blind, and they don't really know anything because they're basing it off their emotions rather than the truth. And your emotions will lie to you 99% of the time. But Dr. Malachi Z. York is the master teacher. He is the true master teacher. And a master teacher is someone who can teach any subject fluently, which is why it's labeled as master. People like Bobby Hemmett, Billy Carson, and the rest of the esoteric teachers just copy their work, copy his work, twist things around, make things up, like the whole 666 thing. That isn't correct at all. People saying, I don't know, man. I don't even fucking care what Billy Carson says about carbonated people and Rashad Jamal and them, because they're incorrect about it, saying that people don't have melanin, that 666 is like the melanin thing. Everyone has melanin. You're either melanin recessive or however, like it's a gene in our body. And these people don't even understand that. They don't even understand that. So doing your own research, not listening to these people that just spread out lies all the time just for money, because that's what they did. In fact, if you didn't know, Bobby Hemmett actually went to a lot of Dr. Malachi Malachi's teachings and tried to get rides there so that he could learn. And he just bumped his head one day and was telling a bunch of lies to people because, I don't know, just people do that. But they dirtied the waters of the truth because they wanted to perceive it differently. Or at least that's my assumption of why. You don't have to believe me. I know what I know. Do the research and you'll find out. Many people don't like the research. They just want someone to tell them things, and those people are followers, side characters of their own life, not ruling their own life. They make excuses for why they can't do something and choose to change and choose not to change. They willingly choose that. It's a road to walk down, and it's not for everyone. You know, many are called if you are chosen. You receive the call, but if you're not going to pick up the call, you don't have to. It's unfortunate for people who want to say that they're chosen ones whenever they don't even choose themselves, because how can you be a chosen one if you're not choosing yourself? Overstand that. If you really want to go by what the collective beliefs chosen ones are, you're not, because you're not choosing yourself. You're not choosing to walk the path of truth. You're afraid to. So you walk it halfway and then jump onto another path and then walk that one for a little bit. You gather all these different ideologies and then cause mass confusion because they don't line up. Many people are raised to be quitters, and other people are raised to be winners. And that's solely the truth of it. Unfortunately, some get irritated in the unknown and choose false truth or find a crowd to fit in due to their inability to stand on their own. And something interesting I've noticed about those types of people is they can't handle direct conversation. Those people also just can't handle truth. This also follows the same with those who can't handle being questioned or even questioning themselves. Truth is direct and not flaky. It will shine bright, and those that can handle the truth or right knowledge have a lower vibration and will be blinded by the light. They have some form of attachment on them, or they are literally just a child of the devil. And a lot of people don't want to admit that, but if you're a child of God, some people are the child of the devil. Simple as that. Only the devil denies the truth, and only a coward will duck it. Many people don't know where to start with on the truth, which is why I've linked everything you need for the pathway to truth in the description. It's up to you to do the reading and watch the videos and do the research and study. But if you choose not to, then that's on you. You will always run into new questions, and you will always have to be comfortable with those new questions as well. Despite how much you would like to believe you know what's happening next, you truly don't. And we all aren't going to the same place in the end, so you can't really say much about that either. How do you know that you're going to heaven? Is it because you're following a rule book that was most likely given to you by a deceiver, also known as Paul, or were you actually following the truth? If you're praising Jesus and saying that Jesus is your savior, okay, cool. But where does it say to give Jesus praise in the Bible? Just asking simple questions for people, because people don't understand that. And they don't understand that whenever time comes and Jesus comes down and you're like, oh my God, Jesus, Lord, come here. And you don't pay attention to you. If that is to happen, he's not going to pay attention to you. He's going to turn his head and say, I don't know who you are. I don't know who the hell you are, because you don't know the Father. You only know me. And I wanted you to know me. I want you to know the Father. So who are you? You're not coming with us at all. That's how it is. And people don't want to admit that. They'd rather stay in blind faith due to being fear-mongered and pushed into it due to not studying, not learning on their own. Don't fall for conversion. Stay on your own path and grow. Staying on your own path doesn't mean stagnant either. It means to walk the road you're on, to find the truth of why you're walking that path. Regardless of what path you walk, you will find truth using the resources linked. Trust me. Don't believe. Well, you don't even have to trust me or believe me. Check it out for yourself. I've walked this path of mine since I was 7 years old. You have to study and learn. Every day is a learning day if you allow it to be. And almost 2 decades of learning and studying have went into my life because I want to master what I know. And although it can be a very treacherous path, a very annoying and stressful path, it has led me to truth, and truth that many people find out later in life that is a little bit it's not very beneficial for them at that point, but beneficial to others. You know, and not everyone's accessible to that type of truth. Some people get it in their elderly years. Some people are raised in it. But it's up to the people who know the deeper things to speak about them, and not speak about the mythology of things, to speak about the actual truth. And this is, when you work out truth and not mythology, you will lose confusion and gain curiosity. Many like mythology, but a myth is a lie, and it's the study of lies. I need you to know that ology and myth. The definition of myth is a widely held but false belief or idea. Notice how belief comes up again in the definition of mythology. You're following a lie with mythology. It's a widely held, like, oh, this sounds cool. Yeah, it does. Because it's ear candy, because it's going to stray you away from seeing the truth of things. This is why so many are lost and confused. This is why you need truth. Look for the consciousness in things rather than just believing in it. Look for the truth rather than for an escape. Become comfortable in the unknown. Remain curious. Let your inner child live. The unknown is where we came from, and it's where we will return. There's always more, and you have to be willing to see it. To get used to the unknown, practice detachment. Not everything will go the way you think. Think of it like when you have a plan for a day. You plan your day out. Let's say last night you planned your whole day out for today. That doesn't mean everything's going to go the right way that you planned it to go. You don't have control of that. You wake up late. You don't feel like working and doing the things that you said you do. You have other things that pop in and take control of the day and all these things. But you've grown so attached to one thing rather than just seeing the truth as it is. Not everything will go the way that you think, and not everything will go the way that you don't think. It's about experiencing life and not controlling it. Many get this confused due to lacking control they feel, so they think that controlling everything allows for the best experience, which is a complete falsity. Making anything go against what they want a struggle or difficult. In reality or actuality, it's you who's difficult with your own self and with life, which is why it feels like it's against you all the time. Life just is. It's always happening in all ways. And when you try to fight something that life has for you at that exact moment you're experiencing it, things are bound to go off course. You only have control of yourself, so learn to control yourself, not in a restrictive way, but in an additive way. Control yourself so that you're able to sit back and see things, so you can add experience to your belt, so you can add dreams to your belt, so you can see what you're desiring to do and then control it that way. And for another example, add wisdom to your belt. Everything you go through is to make you a better person, despite you only seeing it as negative. And this is where you need to have control, because the negative that you're around makes you feel like you don't have a control, but you do. You're just submitting to the easier, to the most common denominator, really. You will have to be willing to overcome the negative, which is only hard when you surround yourself around negativity or pessimism. Remove negativity and pessimism from your life, and it will all begin to shift as you are what you're around. Anything that you're around and doing, you are it. Even if you don't agree with it, you have to ask yourself why you're in the energy if it's not you. If you're in an abusive relationship, it's because you're in the energy of abuse. There's something inside of you that's making yourself abuse yourself by not listening to yourself. If you're in the energy of lack, it's because you yourself are lacking something within inside of you, not outside, but inside. You're lacking the mentality, the strength, the determination to do things. If you're experiencing lust, it's because there's something that you're desiring to do, but it's projecting itself as lust. You're not allowing yourself to do what you want. You're not allowing yourself to see it in a healthy manner. All of these things revolve from you, and so many people don't see it that way. They are so used to scapegoating and saying that this is only happening because other people. Well, you're also in the situation, so it's happening because of you as well. Because if it wasn't happening because of you, it wouldn't be happening to you or even for you. The answer is because you either enjoy it, though. The only reason why you're in this stuff is because you either enjoy it, or you're just not able, you're not seeing how to remove yourself from it. But once you remove yourself fully of whatever situation it is or whatever energy you're in, you will leave it. The unknown is yourself at the end of the day, and you have to discover yourself until you know who you truly are. It's more than flesh. It's more than the silly titles you want to cling to so tightly. It's beyond that. The best way to do that is go into a mirror and look in the mirror and start calling out like your ears, your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your hair, all these things. Start looking at that feature. At some point, you'll notice that that voice that's saying those things isn't talking about the flesh, and you'll become more detached from your flesh. Some people can't do that because they're not used or they're just not able to have a true spiritual outlook because they're not really spiritual. Some people really don't have a spirit in them. Some people were made in factories, were made in Cabbage Patch Kids, were made in cornfields. They're genetically made. They don't have a soul. They don't even have a spirit. They're ran off of whatever the fuck chemicals they put in them, and they'll expire just that same way. Other people have the ability of that soul, of that spirit, won't have to worry about those things as you'll become attached to it. You'll know who you are. It's about remembering who you are and where you came from rather than what you've decided to grow attached to based off of what the devil's given you here. You're of this world. No, you're in this world. You're not of it. Sorry, excuse me on that one. You're in this world. You're not of it. And a lot of people want to be of the world. A lot of people want to be famous and all these things because they want to be part of like the big thing with money and stuff. Other people are in the world who are trying to change it, and they're for the people. And you have to ask yourself if you're for the people or for the world. If you're following falsities and lies and blaming other people and doing all the things that the devil wants you to do, then you're trying to follow the path of other people who are of this world, which is not necessarily a good thing. If you're out spreading truth and trying to help people and not concealing everything, now there's a time to reveal and a time to conceal, but we're in a time of revealing. It's only when someone is stubborn and ignorant and arrogant and they wish not to know that you conceal. When someone isn't able to understand things, you conceal it from them, but you always lead them to the offering of, hey, this is what you should do. This is the truth of things. You shouldn't conceal it off bat. Concealing off bat makes you of this world because everything in this world has to be some sort of secret or some form of unknown, crazy, super hyper thing. When in reality, you should just be able to look at someone and ask them a question and they'll have the answer for you. Unless you don't want that actual answer, unless you're not ready to receive it. And it's not up to someone to determine that. It's based off the interaction. So you can't walk up to someone and go like, oh, you're not ready to hear this. No, you have to have an actual interaction with them. The way they talk to you, the way all these things, if they feel arrogant and stubborn, they don't need to know because they already feel like they know. They already have this innate egoic feeling of, oh, I know all these things already. So let them follow the same path of a lie. Allow them to read the books that are based off of mythologies and mythos and only give a one-way perspective rather than going off of what was prophesied for years and put in these ancient scripts, all these things. You have to look at the world in this type of way. Regardless, at the end of the day, no one truly knows it all. People know bits and pieces, and some people act like they know something when they really don't. And you have to really see it like that. Because a lot of people who act like they know a lot or like something's not helpful to them, they don't understand that if they weren't experiencing it, why they wouldn't be experiencing it if it wasn't helping them, excuse me. And if they feel like they know it, then they wouldn't be indulging in it. You only indulge in things because of curiosity, and people will neglect that fact a lot. And it's important to keep the curiosity up, not confusion. You don't want to be confused. You want to be curious. You want to be looking at things and asking questions. And it's important to ask these questions. And when you receive answers of I don't know, don't let that bother you. That just means you have to do research. You can't expect one person to have all the answers. Unfortunately, the person that does have all those answers is Dr. Malachi York, as he's answered every question that's been asked to him for years, with direct fact, and it's helped people. I mean, you can go find it out yourself. I'm not here to convince you of anything. You go check it out. Just as Dr. Malachi York says, don't believe me, don't believe what anyone says, go check it out for yourself. Don't believe in extraterrestrials and aliens unless you've actually had an encounter with them. Because what if you never see one ever and you just believe that and it's not real? Until you have an actual encounter with things, you shouldn't really believe it, because you can't just go off of other people's words. You have to be aware of it, which is again why it's important to remain sober within this world and not be high all the time or indulge in those types of drugs and things. Because when you start doing so, even though like it opens you up, what if what you're seeing is just fake? What if what you're seeing isn't exactly real? And you wouldn't know because you're not yourself. In fact, you're being controlled by an external energy. So you wouldn't know if it's yours or not. You would like to believe that because, oh, well, I'm experiencing it. But what did you take to experience that? Many people who see the truth of what happens around them don't need to take these drugs or things to alternate their state of being. They'll just experience them and see them. And that's the whole thing. How do you know what you're seeing is truly it if you're not in control of yourself? And you're not in control of yourself because you've allowed something into your system that goes into your bloodstream to then control you. So you really have to look at it like that. People don't like to, because people like to come up with their own excuses and their own ways and all these things. But unfortunately, this is the truth of it. And you don't have to believe me. You can do your research and check it out and all sorts of things. You know, you can keep your bias, you can keep the ego and whatever you want, but the truth will remain strong. So understand that. Really take time to search for what you desire to be the truth. And I'm going to say what you desire to be the truth, because a lot of people will still end up following a lie and believing it a truth. A lot of people will believe that there is no truth, or that there are multiple truths, and that's what they can believe. But those who actually are on the path of right knowledge, those who are actually on the path of Nuwapic learning and the way of the Nuwapians, are going to know the truth, because the truth is undeniable. The truth is something that you experience and see, and it's something that you will know deep down inside of you. And it's not just a feeling, because your brain can make you feel. It's deeper than that. And a lot of people don't understand that. So take this and understand with it, sit with it for a while, do whatever you need. But understand that the trauma of the unknown is just simply a lack of control. And that lack of control is only projected because you feel like you can't do things due to what this world is doing. Because you begin to believe and tell yourself and make it true to yourself, because of your own hypnotic belief system, that you are part of this world rather than just a visitor of it. Now, some people are part of this world and some people are visiting, of course, but if you know that you're not supposed to be here, that you came here, and not just by being birthed, but you came here in the sense of actually incarnating here, being sent here, choosing to come here, however, right? Or you're just down here in and you're actually up there in a ship somewhere, being projected down into here, mentally, or however it is for you. You have to know who you are with that, to know the truth, to start knowing these things. You're not the laws that these people put. The laws that these people say and put around everyone don't have any control over you, actually. But you would believe that they do, because you see so many other people get affected by it. But then whenever you do it, it doesn't affect you. Now, I'm not telling you to go out to break laws and shit, get real, right? But understand that there's more to it. The way that you subscribe to things, the way that you believe things, the way that you allow things to contort and control your life is the reasoning behind why you're in this confusion, is the reason why you're unable to see a truth, and you would rather believe an opinion or a lie, or just follow made up standards, because you believe it's easier that way, when in actuality it's really not. So this has just been the video on the unknown. I hope it all helps you. Again, all the links are in the description. If you're wanting Dr. Malachi's York books, you can go there. They're all there in the description. If you're interested in any of my books, any of my services, they're all in the description as well. Thank you so much for all the likes, comments, shares, subscribes, donations. Be sure to just comment whatever, just, I don't even care like how it is. Just comment, share these things out, get people to wake up. It's, it's overdue time for people to start waking up. So let's do our due diligence and be for the people rather than for the system. But I love you all so much, to the moon and back, tenfold and forever, and I will see you all later.